I'm also going to share my screen and mute. You know, Kendall, the hard part of this is that I want to share my screen and have that up, but then I can't see people in the waiting room when I do that. So can you admit them as they come in?
Sure. You want me to start right at 12?
Yeah.
There's 5 people there right now.
Yeah. Okay. So that way I can keep the screen up. It's very frustrating. I haven't figured out how to fix that yet.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, and don't forget everyone to mute your phone mic if you're not presenting or talking. Cool.
All right.
Thanks, Kendall.
Welcome.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And David, you're still unmuted, just FYI.
I'm gonna get my water.
Thank you.
Kendall, I can see them, so I can help admit.
Hi, Connie.
Hi, is that Chris?
Yep.
Chris, good to see you. Hello, everyone. We're gonna let some people take a few minutes here to join us. We'll start in about 5 minutes.
Hi, Connie.
Hi, Allie.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Good to see you.
Nice. Yeah, nice to see you guys too.
Oh, there's Karen. I met Karen, talked to Karen earlier today. Hi, Karen. Welcome. We're going to get started in about 3 or 4 minutes here.
Okay. I'm going to put myself on mute. It's a good place for me to be. Okay.
Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in a few minutes. There's still some people entering the room, so we'll start in about 3 or 4 minutes. Thank you.
Hey, Connie, it's Allie. I know we're going to get together next week, but I have an example of a new program that just started in the city of Pasadena. It's a direct install program for all energy and water efficient products. Okay. And so I know somebody there that would be willing to talk to us and explain how that all rolls, so.
Cool. Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, just a couple more minutes. We're going to get started. We still have some people entering the room. We have a big crowd today, so thank you for your patience. We're excited to present our presenters today. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started because I just have about a 5-minute update on what's happening with the 2030 district. So welcome to our first Lunch and Learn of the Sponsor Spotlight series. It's kind of a tongue twister, but we're excited to be able to showcase our sponsors, really our professional stakeholders that belong to our program. They are the people that pay to belong and support this program and bring it to our building members. So we're really excited that we can share these technologies with our members. Normally we get to do this in person, but because of COVID, we can't do that. So I've decided to start a monthly Lunch and Learn where you can grab your lunch and sit down and join us. I cannot deliver all of you a lunch, although somebody asked where the lunch portion was, and it kind of cracked me up. I'm like, you're right, I did say Lunch and Learn. But anyways, I'm Connie. I'm the Executive Director of Detroit 2030 District. So welcome to our first Lunch and Learn. Just a couple people I want to welcome. And then when we're done with our presentations, everyone can open their mics and say hello and ask more questions, a little bit of housekeeping. We are recording. So a lot of people that couldn't make it today have asked for me to record. Kendall Kuhneman, who's there up in the corner, you probably see Kendall if you want to wave, Kendall. She is our program manager for the Detroit 2030 district. She's going to help field your questions today. So what we'd like you to do is drop your name and organization into our chat box so we know that you're here. And if you have questions as we're going through, we are going to stop after each presenter. We have 3, and answer as many questions as we can as time permits before we start our next presenter, because we certainly want to end on time. We don't want to go past your lunch hour. However, you're also welcome to stay on and chat with us. There's a lot of people that want to say hello to each other, so we'll make sure we can stay on and do that. So just to give you a quick update on what's happening with 2030 districts, I don't have the latest chart up here. We now have 23 districts, but I was searching around at the last minute. I couldn't seem to find that chart. Dave Lowe, I know you're on here. I had asked you, but it was kind of last minute. So I apologize. I think Dave, you're on. I think it's British Columbia that we also have as a 2030 district, correct? I think he's here. But if you're not familiar with, you're not familiar with 2030 districts, there's 23 of them across North America, and the last one is British Columbia. So we're excited to be a part of this program. We have been in existence for 3.5 years in Detroit. We have Grand Rapids and Ann Arbor also in Michigan. And these are the goals of what we're trying to do in our cities, is we're trying to reduce energy and water and greenhouse gas emissions from transportation. Our goal is 50% by 2030. However, that's an aggregated goal. Some buildings will do better or less. So, it's just a target that we're aiming for. Who are our members? All districts are private-public partnerships. We have property owners and managers, and that's who this program is for, and it's free for our members who manage buildings or own buildings. Professional stakeholders are the businesses that support us in Detroit. We have about 40 of them, so we're very thankful. And that's part of the reason why we wanted to start these Lunch and Learns up, to give them an opportunity to bring their green technologies to our members. And then we also have community stakeholders, and we also have about 40 of those in Detroit. So we have nonprofits in Detroit that we team up with, people like Downtown Detroit Partnership, EcoWorks, Elevate Energy, the list goes on. So that's what makes up our program, and that's who we are. We have a great board of directors. In case you don't know who is working in the background for us, this is our member for the board of directors. We have a couple of them on the call today. So thank you to all of them for the hard work. We've been together, this group, everyone, for at least 2 years, and some of them from when we first launched in 3.5 years ago. So where are we at currently in Detroit? We have 35 million square feet dedicated to our program in Detroit. Super excited. The last couple buildings to join were the Samaritan Center, the Michigan train station that Ford is renovating, and the Book Depository by Ford. So we're very excited that we're still growing. We made it through COVID. we're moving forward. We have a lot of great interest. I should mention the city of Detroit signed on 130 buildings. I'm very excited to be working closely with them on their buildings. So that's where we're at in Detroit. This is a big thank you to all of these people who support us financially. You probably see some logos here that we recognize, and we just always want to thank them at the beginning of our meetings. We couldn't do it without them. In Detroit, we have 3 best practice groups. We have a venue museum group, a house of worship. They're both strong groups, been going for a couple of years now. Currently, the house of worship, we're working on a pilot with the EPA for congregations. That's going very well. And the venue museum group is going well too. So we're excited to have some of those members on today. Our third our third best practice group is just starting up. It's our multifamily group. If you know an owner or a manager of a multifamily building in Detroit, we have this new best practice group starting, coming up soon. If you are a member, don't forget, you can sign up for the Detroit Energy Challenge. It kind of got pushed, the awards got pushed off. We would have normally been actually giving them out this month for last year's winners, but due to COVID, we are not giving out awards just yet. We're waiting 1 more year. So if you are a building member in Detroit and you sign up to the Detroit Energy Challenge, you're automatically a part of the Michigan Battle of the Buildings, and vice versa. If you're a part of the Michigan Battle of the Buildings and you're a Detroit building, you become eligible to receive the Detroit Energy Challenge Award. So Kendall can help you with that too, if you have any questions on that. So how do you join us? In Michigan, we are excited, like I said, to have 3 different districts working together to build a carbon-free environment in Michigan. And what are some of the things you can do? You can add a building to any of these programs. You can become an event sponsor or a professional stakeholder or a volunteer. And don't forget to follow us on our social media. We have newsletters that go out. We have Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So that is it for an update. So I'm going to quit sharing and we're going to go ahead and get right into our speakers. So our first speaker is Don. Are you ready, Don, from IceCold Technology? I'd like to introduce Don Bryan, who's going to share his screen. And as Kendall is going to keep track of your questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. Take it away, Don.
All right, thank you, Connie. I appreciate it. And thanks to all the attendees and the members of the 2030 district for being here today. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Also, real quick, want to thank Ken Cockrell, who is a Detroit-based business consultant who made the initial introduction for our company to the 2030 district. And we're really happy to be here and present our energy efficiency technology to the group. Quick history on our company. The name of our company is IceCold Technology, and we're based in Plano, right outside of Dallas, Texas, and that's where our manufacturing warehouse and distribution starts. I'm fortunate enough to work remotely in Tampa Bay, Florida, home of the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we
had to rub it in, didn't you?
Yeah, had to. Always have to take that opportunity. But we've been around for 18 years manufacturing this product. This product was designed specifically to increase the efficiency of any type of air conditioning and refrigeration system. And I'm going to get into some of the technical side and tell you a little bit about what the problem is and how we solve that problem. But first, a couple of quick credentials that we have. We have 2 schedules on the GSA. One is just for product only. And the other one is through Siemens, where they'll provide technical and installation support if needed. We've also had a considerable amount of third-party laboratory testing through companies like Intertech. We've had performance testing done through PIT Group, which does performance for the transportation department. They do performance testing. And then of course, Siemens has obviously done significant testing in order for them to have approved the product, and they're using it for performance contracts as well. So to get into exactly what this product is and why it exists, There's a group called Ashrae. If you're not familiar with them, they're the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers. It's a group that was put together by the HVAC and refrigeration industry to set the standards for the industry. Back in the 80s, they started doing some studies on the effects of what is known as oil migration. Because you have air conditioning and refrigeration compressors that are lubricated with compressor oil, there's a small percentage of that compressor oil that actually mixes with the refrigerant. And according to Ashrae, it circulates through the system. And over time, you can see in the top of this illustration, it creates what Ashrae defines as oil fouling. It's a small layer of compressor oil that attaches to the inside of your refrigeration coils where your heat exchange is taking place. So over time, it reduces the system's ability to exchange heat. And according to Ashrae, it can reduce it up to 30%. Usually takes place within 2, 3, 5 years after your equipment's put into operation. So the reason IceCold was invented was to eliminate this oil fouling problem. IceCold is completely synthetic. There's no harmful chemicals in it whatsoever. I mentioned before that we've had third-party testing by Intertek, and that was to show that it's completely compatible with all refrigerants and all compressor oils, all compressor components. We've also had testing to show how it increases the lubricity of existing compressor oils. The way that IceCold works is that it's a synthetic catalyst, and it's a liquid catalyst that's added to the existing compressor oil of an air conditioning and refrigeration system. It will circulate through the system and it will cause a reaction that removes this oil fouling layer that's degrading the system's ability to exchange heat. So after the product's installed in the system, there's no downtime. It's not disruptive to business whatsoever. It's very easy to install. After the product's been installed, there's a small reaction period, but after the reaction occurs, the system's able to produce a colder supply air, similar to what it was doing when it was operating brand new. So the benefits from being able to do this, the fact that you're simply removing this lost efficiency and you're restoring the system's ability to produce the coldest possible air that it can, there's so many benefits that come along with that. You're reaching your thermostat set points quicker, so your compressors are going to run less. You're lowering your energy consumption. You're going to increase the life of the overall equipment. You're going to lower maintenance. You're improving the comfort levels in the space that you're trying to cool. It's an environmentally friendly product. There's nothing harmful whatsoever. There's nothing that can be damaging to equipment or to the environment whatsoever by using this product. And we've had all the laboratory tests and case studies to prove all of that. It's extremely cost effective. The results that we achieve by lowering your energy consumption have a great return on investment. And again, it's a very safe product. We've been using it for more than 18 years. It's never caused any type of damage to any type of equipment. It does not void any type of manufacturer's warranties. Everything is completely insured, and we do have a lot of different funding and financial options available for customers if they want to use this product. We even have some zero out of cost options available. So that's a lot of technical information really quick. And I know that if you have questions and you want to put them in, we'll try to address them once we get to the end of this. But wanted to give you some examples of some of the results that we get. We've installed in every type of facility that there is out there. Obviously, a target would be anybody who is a big consumer of energy because of their HVAC and refrigeration uses. And that typically can be your biggest expense is your HVAC or refrigeration. There's some examples here on the right that show some of the different facilities that we've installed it in and the results that we've achieved. To put this into perspective, those percentages are actual reduced compressor run times. These were all done during, these results were all achieved during a proof of concept. And what we do is we actually have an M&V process where we'll create a baseline and we can measure what the efficiency of the equipment is before we've installed our product in it. And we can see what the actual compressor run times are, what the amp draws, the kilowatt hour consumption. and then we'll install our product and see what changes after that. And the percentages that you see on this chart are all actual reduced compressor run times. So for example, at the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, this was on a 6 compressor refrigeration rack. And after using our product, all things being equal with weather normalization, we reduced the runtime of that total unit by 21%. The U.S. Postal Service was 6 different units in Central Florida, or 6 different post offices in Central Florida with multiple units at each location. All of the rooftop package units achieved between 12 and 28% reduction in runtime. The McDonald's restaurants are examples of rooftop package units and walk-in coolers. Subway also walk-in coolers. We've done chillers. We've done the ASI Progressive Insurance. That was 90-ton rooftop air-cooled chillers. So it's a wide variety of equipment that this can be used on. We've installed in everything from automobile air conditioners all the way up to 2,000-ton centrifugal chillers. So we even have an application for ammonia refrigerants. So there's a wide variety of applications that this product can be used. We have case studies on all of them, and plenty of results and things that we can show what we've achieved in the past. So moving on to some of the cost solutions that we have, we are currently an alliance partner with Constellation for their Energy Made Easy program. Basically, anybody that's in a deregulated state can qualify for a Constellation energy contract where they'll lock you in at a specific rate over the period of the contract, which is typically 3 to 5 years. And they will pay for our product for the customer 100% upfront, and then it would show up over the course of that energy contract as a line item, an efficiency upgrade on your electric bill where you just paid for it monthly. The great thing about it is the energy savings that you're achieving each month are going to be greater than what the cost of the monthly payment is going to be. So through a program like EME through Constellation, you're able to pay 0 out-of-pocket cost. You make payments over the life of the contract, and you always stay cash positive because you're saving more each month than you're actually spending. And to that note, we've also just joined with NG's Advantage program. So not only are we an alliance partner with Constellation, but we're also a partner with NG and their Advantage program, which is exactly the same as the EME program from Constellation. We also are a trade ally with DTE, and that means that we can qualify for incentives based on kilowatt hour reductions. So we're able to do a custom program through DTE that would qualify for incentives. And we have a model set up where we can run the numbers and show what you should be able to achieve based on our historical results, but we are looking to get started with somebody on that DTE program, and DTE is also excited about us joining that program with them. And then we have other options available as well, energy as a service, which requires some M&V stuff to be installed that measures your actual savings, and then it's a shared savings type program that you can do. And then we also have capital lease programs, which would just be your traditional financing type programs. So it's a product that's been around for 18 years. It's been very well tested and proven. It's very safe and easy to install with no disruption. We achieve great results every time that it's used, and we have some very simple cost solutions that make it very cost effective. There's many customers that we've installed in over the years. We've got case studies and testimonials that we're happy to share with anybody. And that in a nutshell is IceCold, the technology, and how and why it works. So hopefully I answered most of the questions that you may have had, but I think we have a few minutes left, right, Connie, for questions?
We do.
Okay.
Kendall, did you see any in the chat? And then if not, I'll open it up to any questions.
I did not see any questions in the chat.
Thanks, Don. Is there anybody in the group that wanted to ask a question right now?
Hey,
Otherwise-
Connie.
Hi, Kendall. Hi, Ken. It just
Yeah,
kinda
not a
came
question,
out.
but a comment. I just wanted to really thank the 2030 District Detroit, and also thank you specifically for one particular thing. Don talked about the fact that IceCold is now a trade ally with DTE Energy.
Oh, yeah.
And that really, I think, really would not have happened were it not for your assistance in terms of getting us connected with the right people at DTE. And to provide some background, the reason why I say, quote, us, unquote, is because, and some of you may have noticed it because I did drop it into the chat, that, you know, obviously I'm based here in the city of Detroit, have been for years, have a long history of being involved in local politics and with nonprofits. I've been doing some work with Don as a local consultant to try to help him get connected with some of the players here in Detroit and Southeast Michigan. As a part of that, I had reached out to Connie several months or so ago and arranged an introduction to IceCold, what ultimately led to this. But it really was Connie and I think the 2030 district's intervention that really assisted IceCold in making that connection with DTE to make that trade ally partnership a reality. So I felt I would be remiss if I did not mention that, because this is a perfect example of how the 2030 district and how Connie's work is useful, because it helps to not only strengthen existing alliances, but also to make new ones.
Good point, Ken. I don't know if you mentioned, I don't remember you mentioning it before, Connie, but we do have the ability to do proof of concepts for somebody, and we are looking for somebody that we would do a no-cost proof of concept so that we can show somebody within the 2030 district in Detroit how effective the product is. So we are looking for a volunteer, so to speak, who would allow us to do a free proof of concept at no cost to the customer, so we can show how effective it is and how each one of these programs can work and be effective for the entire 2030 district.
Great. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. So if anybody wants to take advantage of that, just reach out to me or Kendall, and we'll get that set up with Don. If you need Don's email address, we can get that out to everybody too. So thank you so much. Thank you, Ken, too. I think your relationship with DTE as an ally, DTE ally is a great opportunity for you guys.
Thank you,
Okay.
Connie, and thanks everybody for being here today. Appreciate the time.
By the way, I will send everybody a PDF of all these presentations too. So keep that in mind. So thank you, Don. Okay, our next speaker is David Solomon with Sapient. And David, do you want to share your screen?
I will. Hi, everybody. Let me just pull it up here.
All right, let's go.
Okay. Can you see it okay, Connie?
Yes, I can.
Okay, okay, great.
Mhm.
So I'm David Solomon. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Sapient Industries. Thanks for joining us today and for inviting me to present as part of the 2030 District Network's educational webinar series. So I'm excited today to have the opportunity to hopefully educate everyone on an enhanced building automation and analytics solution that Sapient Industries has put together. I hope you'll find this review of what we call commercial plug load management as a very interesting and new topic. As a quick background, Sapient is headquartered in Philadelphia. We've been around for 5 years. We work with large enterprise organizations throughout North America. We'll soon be rolling out internationally the second half of this year. So thanks for joining me today. So for today's agenda, we'll review a few things. One, the flexibility of plug load data, the industry problem that building owners and managers face. What can today's technology bring to provide both a scalable as well as an economically feasible plug load management solution? And what are the specific benefits that address energy consumption? 1, 2, sustainability, and 3, asset management. We'll then review how to educate employees in these facilities to create a really positive engagement. And then, near the end, we'll talk about how plug load management can support during this COVID period. And lastly, we'll address how it plays, as an example in a case study. So That's what we'll talk about in the next 10 minutes. So first of all, so what is plug load? It is defined as the electrical power consumed by all plugged in devices and equipment throughout a building. And by accessing and analyzing and controlling plug load data, building managers, owners, and even tenants can better manage their commercial space. Plug load can be managed across any type of industrial vertical, including financial services, sports arenas, education, universities, K-12, healthcare, government, just to name a few. If it's a commercial facility, we can play in it. And we can cover any kind of applications. It can range from dense office space to laboratories to manufacturing and even industrial. So historically, plug load has been unmanaged. I think everyone on this call in the commercial building that you guys work in, I can almost guarantee that no one's managing plug load. But with today's technology, for many reasons, but with today's technology, you now have the ability to access plug load, to analyze it at the most granular level, and control it for every single plugged in device throughout your building. And by using machine learning algorithms with large amounts of historical plug load data, there's multiple creative applications that can drive workplace impact and efficiency. Here's just six examples of a number of applications you could use it for. Of course, the first is reducing building energy consumption. 2, you can identify and eliminate redundant equipment. 3, you can transition from a very reactive, which most facilities have in terms of asset management programs, to a more proactive, predictive one. You can optimize space utilization, help improve building safety, and of course, there's a reduction of carbon footprint, which we're all very highly concerned about, to improve environmental impact. So, what we believe is whether a building is already LEED certified or on the other side of the spectrum is not very efficient, plug load management's becoming either the first slice to begin providing building efficiency, or could be the last slice if you're already looking for that final opportunity, depending on the type of building you have. So what is today's commercial building problems? So most people are usually surprised to learn an alarming industry trend related to commercial properties and buildings. On average, HVAC and lighting drive 2/3 of the total building energy consumed, and plug load represents the other 1/3. This is an illustration on this page of your typical commercial building. And all the focus historically and technology innovation has really only been on HVAC and lighting. So that's allowed that to become more efficient and going to LED lighting, going to retro commissioning projects. And that's expected to continue to be reduced from its current 2/3 to less than 50% in a few years. So what does that mean for plug load? Well, because it's unmanaged, that'll take up the void, and is expected to increase from 1/3 to over 50% of total building energy consumption, with almost half of that expected to be wasted energy due to something called, some of you may have heard this expression or not, vampire draw, phantom load, parasitic load. All those things mean the same. That is when equipment is plugged in, left on, but unused, and energy is still being drawn and wasted. So finally, the other issue is, as more and more companies want to have the smart, I quote, smart building with central visibility that will provide truly full building information to make more and more fully informed decisions. But to do so, you need to be looking at the most granular level of building data, and that is at the plug load data. So what type of solution can solve this problem? Well, imagine being able to manage plug load data with a full turnkey in the cloud SaaS, software as a service web application that runs a deployment of smart outlets, power strips that collect, analyze, and control. And when I say control, I mean turn on and off live power consumption data on each and every plugged in device comprehensively throughout a building. This web application uses machine learning algorithms that provide predictive analytics to help anticipate the needs and the actions of the people and equipment within the building. In terms of the hardware, take a look at it here. There's smart strips and smart plugs because each smart socket can do two things. One, they can communicate wirelessly to the cloud, to the application in the cloud, with all the power data from each piece of equipment. And this includes like the voltage, the current, the reactive power profile. So think for every individual piece of equipment, you're actually gathering the individually unique electrical profile of that piece of equipment. And each socket has its own relay switch. So each piece of equipment can be turned on and off based on rules generated from the application using machine learning to generate those rules. The platform's high-powered analytics is based on machine learning, which we patented, and leverages the largest repository of plug load data that is existing, anywhere, covering hundreds of different types of equipment. Why is that important? Because it helps to create predictive analytics quickly, accurately, to auto-identify and label each device within an application, which means it knows the difference between the electrical profile of, say, a refrigerator to a monitor to a cappuccino machine and any other kind of equipment, and in seconds will self-identify that within the application. It can also set up rules to turn on and off based on the utilization of that equipment in the facility. So as a result, we can determine how much energy a piece of equipment consumes and how much you can save at different states when you turn it off. So let me summarize how all of this can drive monetary impact through three key areas of savings. The first is the reduction of energy consumption by two activities. One is using after-hour rules to turn equipment off when not used. The other is peak demand shaving, which includes turning off the more discretionary equipment for short periods of time during your peak demand period. Together, after hours and peak load reduction shaving can reduce annual building utilities by 12 to 20%, and typically can drive an ROI between 2 to 3 years or less. In the right-hand column, the second area is sustainability impact by reducing carbon emissions, by taking the kilowatt saved, converting it to metric tons of carbon, and with real-time visibility, operators are provided with the insights showing how to minimize gas emissions, reduce carbon footprint, and reduce e-waste. Lastly, the third area of savings is enhancement of asset management. And this is some of the creative things that many people don't realize you can do with finally being able to access plug load data. There is the ability to improve predictive maintenance, identify redundant equipment, and help optimize space usage. As an example, we have a feature called the auto detection and notification feature that when an anomaly occurs, such as a voltage spike or a power surge and a piece of equipment's operating outside its operating ratings, we have the ability, because we know what those ranges are, to send an automatic email or text to the maintenance facilities showing what building, what floor, what room that issue is having. So it really ups the ante of how people are handling asset management in buildings today. And it really drives for a really proactive preventive maintenance program. So people always ask if this plug load management solution requires a lot of resources to manage it on an ongoing basis. The point of an in the cloud, quote, managed SaaS solution, and the word manage is critical, is that all the technology is provided for the building manager to make it a very light lift. And the word manage means that the solution includes on-site installation, which we provided with our technicians, and ongoing account management who can support and maximize the use of the application to help support the property managers as much or as little as they need. We also train them, so if they want to be self-serving themselves, they can do that as well. But the result is it does not require extensive resources, especially if you're leanly staffed. People also ask about employee engagement. And you can see here, by providing an employee or stakeholder facing plug load impact dashboard, which we provide companies, the Go Green initiative can really become a publicized in a very positive manner, as well as further educate everybody about what the plug load impact is. People use gamifications a lot, where you'll have the finance department, versus the sales department, who can save more by turning things off more over a period of time, and you get a free lunch. We've seen some clients do that. Further employee engagement can also occur by using an individualized, personalized scheduler that you see here. Tools are available to really enable the most granular scheduling flexibility at the employee level. It also can address the misalignment during COVID between energy consumption levels and occupancy levels. We've unfortunately with COVID, we've actually seen our clients save more money during COVID period than pre-COVID. Why? Because the amount of energy saved pre-COVID, the energy rule sets that we use was typically just after hours. Currently, when you have low occupancy, there are some areas that you can now turn off 24/7, thus save a lot more energy. This page just shows a recent study of a portfolio over millions of square foot in New York City, buildings with occupancy being reduced across this portfolio of buildings about 94%, but energy consumption only declined about 15%. That's a disconnect, and in part because everything that was plugged in a year ago is still plugged in. When we do on-site audits, we see that all the time. So this misalignment between energy consumption and occupancy levels is really inefficient, and it's a compelling optimization opportunity for folks to try to realign that equation. And then lastly, on a case study perspective, this is an example of one of the most sustainable, the 50 most sustainable buildings in the US, the first commercial net zero energy building in Texas. It's LEED Platinum certified with things like rooftop solar, geothermal heating, and many more building efficiencies. Their problem was that despite being equipped with state-of-the-art technology to minimize energy consumption, they needed to reduce this gradual increase that they saw over time. So the solution included analyzing the building energy consumption that was due to plug load, and the result that we were able to save them almost 30% reduction in energy use from plug load, which was surprising to them, as they thought they had one of the most efficient buildings out there and didn't think there was much more they can do. So in this case, is a good example how plug load can be kind of the last meaningful opportunity in an existing efficient building. So I welcome any questions, and thanks for the time to present to you all.
Thanks, David. And yes, I did see a couple of questions come through. So I'm just going to go ahead and read them off. This one's from Sheena Sharp. How much energy does this use for the cloud functionality?
So if that means do our equipment consume energy, it's just nominal. It's like 0.001 kilowatt hours. It's nominal. It's not impactful whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. And another question is, what do you do with all the replacement sockets and strips? For instance, if you implement a project and you end up with 2,000 units of replaced sockets, what do you do with those?
So when we go into a place, the nice thing is you don't need to use, for an existing building, you don't need to use electricians. We'll go in, our technicians will go in, and we have an installation app that mirrors a building's footprint, nomenclature for room numbers and name numbers, and they mirror that right into the application so that when you use it, you know exactly where you are and you're comfortable with that. But they basically remove the dumb strips, plug in the smart strips, and for in-wall sockets, they plug right over the existing in-wall sockets with a single or dual smart socket. There's no, you don't have to do any electrical work. With the quote dumb strips that we removed, typically they'll go ahead and put it through the proper recycling process. The company will help them do that.
Okay, so I should have added, so the follow-up question to that was, has Sapient tracked any of such waste replacement sockets all the way from project closure to whenever it ends up, well, basically the environmental impact?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, our solutions help in reduce e-waste. Like one of the examples I can tell you is getting rid of redundant equipment and being able to know that this isn't being used. So being able to stop using it, stop having consume energy, stop having to supply it, stop having to maintenance it if it's not being utilized. On average, when you look at all the different types of equipment throughout a building, and there's hundreds of different types, you'd be surprised, we find anywhere between 5 and 50% of all equipment happens to be underutilized. So we'll help them both identify it and either reassign it, reallocate it somewhere where it could be more useful, or eliminate it and put it through the proper disposition channels.
Okay, great. There's 2 more questions. I'm going to go through these really quickly so we can get on to the next speaker. But what is the ballpark simple return on investment with a full medium commercial building? Sapient. Yeah.
Yep, good question. So there's 2 things we can look at. When we go in, our go-to-market strategy is to make sure that ROI, return on investment, payback duration is no worse than 3 years when you're only looking at the utility piece. So when you look at utility consumption versus your cost, you should be able to get a payback between 2 to 3 years on the utility savings. And then if you can take advantage of some of that asset management, preventive maintenance, reducing labor hours associated with that, getting rid of redundant equipment out of leases that may be associated with that, and even space optimization so you don't have to expand into other space by utilizing your current space more effectively. Realizing with our utilization studies, you could go to a floating desk or hoteling or other things. We can actually drive that 2 to 3 year return on investment between 1 to 2 years return on investment.
Great. And then is there a way for an employee to turn on or off an outlet on demand if this was outside the scheduled time for the outlet being on?
Sure. I'm showing you the slide. I went through it before fairly quickly, but as you can see, by each smart socket, there's a small button, and it's called an override button. So if you set a rule to turn things off at 7 p.m. and someone comes into work at 8, all they need to do is press that button. And every single piece of equipment, and we provide posters and table tents, the one piece of education that we provide to them, other than the Go Green, is that if you do ever run up against it, there's no phone calls you need to make. Just press the button and it will turn on if it was in a rule set that had to turn off.
Okay, and then lastly, what's the difference in cost for the outlet for new construction?
So we don't sell just hardware, it's really a solution. So our costing, when we go to market, we don't sell hardware separately from the application. So we look at it fairly similar. The only difference is we'd be shipping out the smart in-wall sockets during construction period of time. So, but we don't go ahead and just price out a hardware versus that hardware, because those are what we consider dumb in-wall sockets. That way you're not collecting data, you're not managing things. So we don't really look at it that way.
Okay, well, thank you, David. There were a lot of questions. Would you mind putting your contact info in the chat in case people have any additional questions for you?
I sure will. And just on this last step, I just want to be able to be amiss if I didn't say, if anyone wants us, as the first group said, if anybody wants us to provide a free plug load assessment, it's not much heavy lifting for you to provide us information. We'd be happy to do that, and you can send me and we can talk to you about it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, David. I did want to note too that Sapient did a pilot at Ford Field. So if you have any interest in learning more about that, David, are you guys going to do a case study at all on that in the future?
We are, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, just keep your eyes out for that. And when we find that, we will get that out to everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And our last speaker, saving the best for last, right, Jeff? Is Jeff Hancock from WattTime. And we're excited to learn about this technology. It's very interesting. So take it away, Jeff.
Thanks, Connie. Sorry, I had trouble unmuting there. So WattTime is a community stakeholder as a nonprofit organization, and I'm Jeff. I'm a product manager at WattTime for our automated emissions reduction product. And the product is really a partnership between ourselves as a nonprofit org and a data provider with partners that provide devices to the end user, such as Sapient, who just presented. We partnered with them last year, and we also were part of the Detroit Lions project. So that's kind of how we engage with the community. And a little bit more about who we are. We're a high-tech nonprofit, like I said, dedicated to accelerating new sustainability techniques. We were founded by some volunteers and researchers back in 2013. And in 2017, we joined Rocky Mountain Institute as a subsidiary. And we're really just obsessed with giving people the power to choose cleaner electricity. And we do that, like I said, as a data provider of grid emissions data for the local electricity grids around the country. And we're now in 16 countries and growing. So we're excited to keep expanding around the world. And I'll tell you a little bit more about how it works. So every 5 minutes, the emissions footprint of your local electricity grid changes. So when your air conditioner cycles on, for example, a power plant will generate more electricity to serve that additional demand that your AC is calling for. And that responding generator is either clean or dirty. So WattTime is monitoring those power plants of these local electricity grids, and we can send a signal to electricity users like buildings to enable the air conditioner to use less energy when the grid in the local area is dirty, and to use more energy when the grid is clean. So this is done with load flexibility, like pre-cooling or shifting your energy use by small amounts. So like I said before.
Hey, Jeff.
Sure.
Can you explain the difference between a clean and dirty grid?
Yeah, just simply, it's like whether a coal-fired power plant is generating or a natural gas-fired power plant. Those are dirtier than if the power is being provided by solar or wind. And the way we provide data is the marginal emissions data, which means we pinpoint exactly which power plant and how dirty that power plant is, which one is actually responding when you use more energy. So each 5 minutes, that power plant may change. And so we provide that data. So like I said, this is a partnership between us and device companies. We've been working since 2015 with EV charging companies, batteries, thermostat providers, refrigerators companies, appliances, things like that. And so now we're expanding into commercial buildings. Like I mentioned, we were working with Sapient, hoping to provide automated emissions reduction with them in the next phase of our partnership with them. And I'll tell you a bit more about another partner that we are partnered with. It's called BrainBox AI, and BrainBox is a control layer that goes on top of your building automation system. And the way it's deployed is basically we connect over the internet through to the building automation system. This can be done directly or with a gateway device, basically like kind of like an internet router. We then observe the building, monitor the way it operates and kind of the constraints that are there for comfort and operational constraints like schedules. And then after that observation period, the control is activated where the artificial intelligence engine would slightly modify set points to shift the energy usage from dirty times to clean times by pre-cooling, all the while respecting the comfort set points in the zones to make sure that comfort is not only maintained but actually improved. And so this is kind of done in autopilot throughout every day to not only reduce emissions but also, like I said, improve comfort and improve efficiency so that you save money on your electricity and gas bills. And then we evaluate how much emissions savings and cost savings is achieved. So I just mentioned some of the benefits of BrainBox with AER. They estimate in most of their installations, the savings is about 25% of the total energy cost, and that's from about 40 to 50% savings on HVAC. The decrease in carbon footprint is 20 to 40%, and the ability to track comfort set points is improved by 60%. And it's just a pretty quick install of this gateway device in the case where those are needed of 2 to 3 hours. And so ideal buildings for this technology are at least 75,000 square feet with centralized HVAC controls. Types include offices, educational facilities like schools and universities, malls and public assembly buildings and kind of large recreation facilities. So we do have a pilot program that's about to launch. So we're partnering with a few different buildings to demonstrate how much savings we can achieve. And this is available to any state that touches the Great Lakes. So Michigan definitely at the center of that. The project is funded by the Great Lakes Protection Fund, which is really focusing on reducing mercury pollution that goes into the Great Lakes, and that primarily comes from coal-fired power plants that generate in the region. And University of California's Berkeley Center for the Built Environment will assist with the third-party validation of the results. And so we're happy to have them as a partner on the project as well. And of course, BrainBox AI, which makes the HVAC system autonomous with that gateway system. So you'll be able to see real-time analysis and performance results in that BrainBox AI dashboard, but we'll also provide kind of monthly reports on how the system has been performing, and a final report at the end that will be validated by that third-party CBE to show kind of the full results. And we can, if there's interest from the building partner, we can make this a nice case study to demonstrate what we've all achieved together. So again, I mentioned it was free. Setup time is really short. We'll need access to your utility info to measure how much we're saving you, and welcome feedback during the project. And so we're trying to select buildings by the end of April, and then we'll get started with deployment of the technology soon after that. So that's it, and really appreciate the time, and thanks everyone for joining. And I think we have a few minutes left for questions.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I find this fascinating, what you guys do. And I'm just excited to be able to show everybody the good work that you guys are doing and the partners that you have. So I find that really interesting. Kendall, were there any questions in the chat box? I don't think there was any.
I did not see any questions, no.
Okay. So if you want to talk with Jeff at all, here's his email address. Once again, they're all available for questions, and we're happy to help set up a connection between the two of you anytime. So that concludes our Lunch and Learn for today. We got a couple minutes left here. Thank you to our presenters. Great, interesting new topics, and very helpful to our building members. So thank you for participating. And if anyone wants to stay on and say hello, we can chat and say hello to each other. And I will make sure everyone gets a copy of this recording as well as the presentation. Thank you again to the speakers. I'm going to quit recording now. All right.